Hello everyone, welcome to another new important post today, and I hope all of you are doing wonderfully well. So today let's speak about the first Central Asian summit that China is going to host very soon, that is in the second week of May. What is the importance of this Central Asian region to China? What's the interest of Russia? Now these were the older Soviet Union republics that got independence after the breakup of the Soviet Union. So what does Russia mean to this region, and what is India's interest in this region? What India has been doing, what is China doing, and now what is the position of Russia after the war of Ukraine? Let us go into all these major points and let's have a clear perspective of the China in Central Asian region. So we all came to know yesterday that President Xi Jinping is going to host a 2-day summit with the leaders of the 5 Central Asian nations next week. And this is China's move to increase its influence further in the region. Now, the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan are expected to attend this China Central Asia Summit, which is going to be held from May 18th to 19th. The republics of the Central Asia, as I told you earlier, were part of the Soviet Union and have been dominated by Moscow since the mid-19th century. But Russia's influence has been increasingly challenged since its invasion of Ukraine, with Beijing courting Moscow's traditional allies in the region. Now, the summit is going to be held in the historic city of Xi'an in the ancient Silk Road route, and it is the first of kind since the establishment of the formal relations 31 years ago. China, the world's second largest energy consumer, has invested billions of dollars to tap natural gas reserves in the Central Asian region. This region is very rich in natural gas and also oil reserves. Rail links connecting China to Europe crisscross this Central Asian region, and they are a key to the success of China's main program and the brainchild of Xi Jinping, that is called as the Belt and Road Initiative. In 2022, let me tell you, the Chinese exports to the Central Asian region grew 60% year on year to almost $1.4 billion, according to the data that was released by the Chinese Commerce Ministry itself. Now, Chinese flagship Belt and Road Initiative has considerable influence and also impact in the Central Asian region. China has its interest in the Central Asian region. Let's see how this is actually helping the Central Asian countries. Now, for years, Beijing has worked to develop its interest in the Central Asian region, and the Ukraine war has only given it an opportunity to perhaps push aside Russia out of its traditional sphere of influence. And India's engagement also with the region is critical because it focuses primarily on security concerns. Now, let me tell you, both Russia, China and India are the members of the SCO along with Pakistan and the Central Asian regions. And this year, India is going to chair the SCO summit. So China has helped the Soviet-era countries, and let's see how. With Russia grappling with economic aftermath of the Soviet Union collapse, the Central Asian republics welcome Chinese attention. The region's political and economic dependence on Moscow had ended abruptly. The transition to an open economy was very tough for these countries, and there was huge unemployment, poverty throughout the region. But in 2000s, Chinese investment helped upgrade the Soviet-era infrastructure and also carry out a series of development works in these countries. So what's the highlight of this region? Now, the region, let me tell you, is actually very, very rich in natural resources. It has massive gas and oil reserves. It has massive strategic minerals like uranium, copper, gold. Kazakhstan has the world's largest uranium reserves. It grows food grains and cotton. It is very rich in the temperate grasslands, that is the steppes. China has another priority in relationship with the Central Asian region, and that's because it is very close. The border of China is very close to the Central Asian countries, especially the Xinjiang Autonomous Region, which forms a frontier with Central Asian countries and China. Now, recently there was an online meeting between the China and the trade ministers of these Central Asian countries, which is called as the C+C5, that is China and the 5 Central Asian republics, namely Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan. It was the latest in the series of diplomatic relations by Beijing in the region since the Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. So what are the main highlights of this trade minister meet? Now, the first C+C5 summit between between China and the Central Asian countries was held in January 2022, and this was to commemorate 30 years of diplomatic relations between China and the Central Asian republics. Now, 2 days later, that is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, hosted a virtual first India Central Asia summit with the nations collectively of Central Asia. China shares a very long history of trade, culture, people-to-people contacts with the Central Asian region, which lies in the ancient Silk Route. Modern Chinese involvement also in the region began with the breakup of Soviet Union in 1991, and it moved to formalize the boundaries with Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan as well as Russia. Diplomatic relations between this region and China were established in 1992. Chinese relationship with this region was also institutionalized and called as Shanghai Five, that is a forerunner of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In the next 2 decades after the establishment of the Shanghai Five and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which was previously called so, Chinese interest started to grow in this region rapidly. Now, the Central Asia was a ready-made market for cheap exports and gave China overland access to markets in Europe and West Asia as well. Let's take a quick look of what the Belt and Road Initiative has for the Central Asian region. Now, to this landlocked region of Central Asia, China offered a path or an access to the Pacific Ocean and also East Asia. And Xi launched the Belt and Road Initiative during his 2013 visit to the Kazakh capital of Almaty. As many as 51 Belt and Road initiatives are said to be located in the country, which plays a very critical role as a transit hub for China's trade in Europe. Beijing has also pumped billions of dollars in Uzbekistan and other 3 small countries in the region. These investments cover oil and gas exploration, processing, manufacturing, and rail, road, and seaport connectivity to digital technologies, green energy, including the solar power. And the authoritarian regimes in these countries were comfortable that China, unlike the West, asked no questions about their governance and also the human rights record. Now, what's the resentment? Is China having a clean outlook in this Central Asian region? Does it have no boundaryless support in this region? No. So China's presence in this region has caused some resentment, and let's see where. Now, this is with regard to the Uyghurs. That is, China's expansion in the Central Asian region has not been without any friction points, because the Central Asian region is an important Muslim region. Now, Beijing has been targeting the Muslim population in the Xinjiang region, and that too the population of the Uyghurs, where Islam is the principal religion of this population. The Uyghur live across Central Asia and Xinjiang as significant Kazakh and Uzbek populations that have been affected by these Chinese crackdown on the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region. The resentment, including the presence of the Chinese workers and also rapid land acquisitions by China in these regions, in these countries, has periodically led to public protest and also resentment against China. Now, but Beijing's clout continues to increase, ensuring that these governments put down such eruptions with a heavy hand and do not join the international campaigns in the UNHRC and elsewhere where Chinese treatment of the Muslim minority called as the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region has been criticized. Now, China is in the region, is the foremost trading partner in this region as well. So at the Chinese trade ministers meet, that is the C+C5, China has said that the trade between China and these 5 countries has reached almost $70 billion last year, which is called as a historic high, and reported increase of 40% over the previous year. Chinese direct investment in this region is almost $15 billion. So there is a lot of focus now on better linkage, and let's look at some of the projects. So there are talks on transport projects and logistics linking all these countries in the Central Asian region to the Yellow Sea in Chinese Jiangsu province. So China is investing in the expansion of the Horgos land port in Xinjiang, adding connectivity to the Central Asian and Europe. President Xi has also pressed and called on Uzbekistan to finish the construction of the China-Uzbekistan-Kyrgyzstan railway and also begin the implementation of the Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, China's, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia transport corridor. So these are the part of the Belt and Road initiatives in the Central Asian region, and it's going to pave a very great way to increase the exports of China further into this region and also further into Europe as well. So what's the grand plan for relations for Xi with regard to Central Asian region? Now let me tell you that President Xi has a strong focus in the Central Asian region, and he said that he is eager to discuss the grand plan to develop relations with them during the upcoming summit. China stepped up engagement in this region over the last year, giving a speculation that Beijing is actually making the Chinese preoccupation in Ukraine to push Moscow out of its backyard. Now, for 3 decades, these stands, which are that is the Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, have sought to balance their old ties with Russia and new ties with China and the West as well. So how far is this region dependent on Russia? This region is economically still dependent on Russia after the breakup of the Soviet Union, and which is also Central Asia's net security provider, even through the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which comprises 6 countries. 3 of them is Central Asian, and however, the Ukrainian invasion has given rise to fears among these countries, especially with regard to Moscow, which could prove a double-edged weapon. Let me tell you, as a reaction, Kyrgyzstan also cancelled the Collective Security Treaty Organization military exercise that was going to take part in its territory as a criticism of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But now none of the 5 Central Asians have taken the Russia side openly, preferring instead to stay neutral. But Russia's trade with this region has also increased over in the last year because it had to find substitutes to the imports from Europe. Russia has also had a long migrant population of the Central Asians who bind the region in its economic dependency as well. Coming lastly to India and Central Asia. Now, New Delhi has been outreaching to Central Asian through by becoming a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and also now we are going to chair the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or the SCO. So recently we had the first Shanghai Cooperation Organization defense ministers meeting, but our relationship with this region has remained mostly security driven. India's trading ties in this region was actually stranded or hindered by the absence of a land route to Central Asia, because Pakistan has been denying us passage, and Afghanistan being an uncertain territory after the Taliban has taken over. But yes, one green spot in this area is the Chabahar port, which India is developing in Iran. However, it's a backdrop that we still haven't developed the port yet completely. Now, there have been suggestions that we need to provide more connectivity and access between the Central Asian countries and India to increase relations not only from the security front but also from the trade front, import and exports as well, and also to keep India's influence in this region, because it's very close to the Pakistan-Afghanistan axis and also to the West Asian countries. Support from Central Asia also will influence the support for India in West Asia and also balance Afghanistan and Pakistan very well. So there have been suggestions that there should be connectivity for people and trade in the Central Asian region and also India. So there have been suggestions for India to start air corridors, which had done with Afghanistan. Now this year we have SCO's leadership, and so this might provide us a new opportunity to diversify our relations with this resource-rich and also economically important strategic region. So I hope this information was really helpful to you all, and if you did, please do like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, very happy learning.